Nassim Odin is with us here today. How are you doing?
Good, good. Thank you for having me.
Now, you've got a new book called The Sphere of Destiny. So, how would you describe that book?
It's a science fiction genre, and it starts with medieval settings, and then it gradually turned into the alien world. And
Ooh.
so I suppose that probably is the first time somebody has written a book in which the medieval world is connected to the science fiction,
Yeah.
because normally we see the books which starts from here, and then we go into the future.
Mm.
So in my case, the hero is basically moving from the past to further past, actually.
Yeah. That's so interesting. How did you come up with the idea for the book?
Actually, it was a I had an idea about the pyramids, and
Ooh.
I'm actually have interest in the pyramids. So
Yeah.
I was reading about them for a very long time. First, I was thinking that who made that,
Yeah.
and then why the people made that, and then I realized that probably they are not that young. They are quite old
Mm.
structures.
Yeah.
So I started investigating to see what people have said about the pyramids, especially in the medieval world,
Yeah.
in the Arabic literature. And then I found that there were many Egyptians, local Egyptian authors, historians, who mentioned that the pyramids were basically prehistoric structure,
Mm.
maybe pre-Adamite structures.
Yeah.
So I got interested, and then I see the timeline, and yeah, the story starts from there.
Yeah. So, do you think the pyramids were built by aliens then, I take it?
Actually, it's a hypothesis. So
Uh,
I place my book around this hypothesis.
mm, yeah. I guess it's something that a lot of people don't believe because it was only last week I had somebody on talking about aliens and he believes that they exist, but I don't think he believed so far that they built the pyramids and stuff like that.
Oh, yeah. Actually, you see, nobody has seen the aliens yet.
Mm. Yeah.
We don't know whether they exist or not. But this is called the fantasy genre, the
Yeah.
wonder literature. You just hypothesize something, and then start creating the world building, think
Mm.
about how the people are looking like, and more or less they are humans.
Yeah, yeah. And what is it about the pyramids that means that it must have been aliens that made them and not humans?
Actually, it's the age of the structures, because
Ah,
you see, we read in our history books,
yeah.
in the schools, that the pyramids were made by Egyptians in something around 3000 BC,
Yeah.
somewhere around 3000 BC. And this date actually doesn't sound logical, because even in that age, people don't know how to lift the stones, huge stones.
Mm.
And we know what equipment they had. And so it doesn't sound logical to think
Yeah.
that so probably it's very ancient. And
Mm.
then the technology got lost, and the civilization starts again.
Yeah.
So in my book, I theorized that the pyramids were made by aliens. Then we have a great flood event, and everything destroyed, and then civilization started again. So in a way, the technology which was used was actually lost with the flood.
Yeah. And 3000 BC, that's only like 5,000 years ago, right? So were humans that different?
Yeah, exactly. The humans were not very different in that era. We know
Mm.
that the Greeks were there. We know about them, and Greeks had never mentioned that the pyramids were made by the Egyptians.
Yeah.
They mentioned that they were made by some race. For example, Herodotus, he mentioned that they were made by Indians.
Yeah.
And so they were also theorizing, actually, in that era, that who made that. So yeah,
Yeah.
we actually don't know who made it.
It's so
So
interesting.
what happened actually when I was researching and I found one or few Arab historians in the Egyptian region, they mentioned that the pyramids had the casing stones, and on those casing stones there were some writings, and in those writings, it was mentioned that the pyramids were made when the constellation of the Cancer was this was the age of Cancer,
Yeah.
and North Star was Star Vega. So I start using those astronomy softwares to check how the alignment goes. And then I found that this is the closest alignment to Star Vega and this zodiac of Cancer is possible somewhere around 7,500 BC. But the problem was that there is another thing, very enigmatic, which is a zodiac of Dendera. So in Egypt, actually, in one of the temples in the crypt, there is a zodiac, and that zodiac actually has all the 12 zodiacal signs in it. So the question is, who made that?
Yeah.
If the human beings were that ancient and they don't have the technology and they can only see from the horizon, so to completely know that what constellation is appearing, you should have a life of around 25,900 years.
Yeah.
So, and according to the religions, the age of Earth is 6,000, huh? And the anthropologist says that it is older, but they don't even go beyond that, like 7,000 BC. They start somewhere like 6,000 somewhere. And then, so I was saying that one complete cycle of zodiac requires 25,900 years. And whoever started recording this information, he must have lived more than 25,900 years to record it correctly and confirm it, and then know that where to start from. So if you look into the zodiac of Dendera, you will see that the constellations were in a spiral. So the innermost was actually the zodiac of Cancer. So that's what I found in the Arab historian books, that the pyramids were made when the constellation of Cancer was in alignment with the star Vega. Now Vega is no longer Earth North Pole. Nowadays we have Polaris, which is a North Pole, but actually some time ago it was Vega.
Yeah.
And then I showed in my book basically that the hero actually went from Earth to a planet which is in the Vega system actually. So the aliens actually arrived from Star Vega. They made the planets and then went back. And there is a reason they went back, which Hero found, and then he offered a solution.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah, and it's kind of random though, because why would a bunch of aliens want to come here and build pyramids?
You see why a bunch of humans want to go on Mars? Because it is exactly the same thing. Why a bunch of humans want to go on the Mars? That's because we want an exploration.
Yeah.
So exactly, the aliens were exploring planet Earth, something like that.
Yeah.
And what would be the most motivating thing to explore? I mean, if we want to go to the moon, huh? And we think that moon has some kind of a fuel. So similarly, the aliens actually exploring for looking for all kind of fuel or minerals or rare metals, something like that.
Yeah. Do you think that we are descendants of aliens, maybe, or some animals are?
Not really. Actually, I never went in that direction because I could have gone there, but I don't have any linkage for this kind of a theory.
Yeah.
So I I didn't go for it. But I simply suggested that the life on Earth is different from the life in the planet Lyra, actually, which from where they came from. So
Yeah.
their genetic structure is different. And then they got an Earth-based disease, basically, those aliens. And they were struggling with the cure, but they don't want to come back to Earth because they had a fear that they might get the disease again.
Yeah. And this book, The Sphere of Destiny, how long did it take you to come up with?
Actually, it took me 20 minutes to think about this theory, but not the complete, just the
Yeah.
sketch. Because I was going through COVID-19 lockdown,
Yeah.
and I was just thinking to write something science fiction. And then I say, okay, why not? The aliens are coming. Maybe there's a disease, and that's why they went. They didn't think about coming back. So it is just a 20-minute idea which I got, and then I started elaborating, connecting the pyramids and other things together,
Yeah.
like a jigsaw puzzle.
Yeah. So is it kind of non-fiction or fiction? How would you classify it? Because I guess it's a bit of both.
Yes, actually, when I was writing, I'm not a science fiction writer, actually. This is my first book. So I took some online classes, and for example, from David Farland and John Truby. They are very famous for the screenwriting and novel writing.
Yeah.
And they suggest that if you want to write a nice novel, then you should connect it to some myth. So we have a myth of Egyptian religion, Egyptology and everything, in which we have Hathor and Osiris and Horus. So I actually connected those elements with earth-based elements, if you can say that, okay, for a moment. So I connected those elements and just pushed them over the sky into another planet.
Yeah. So how did you get into writing originally then?
Literary writing is not my forte. Actually, I'm always afraid of writing something in English. But I decided to write because I saw so many science fiction, and I didn't like their gloves and the premise, and they were being sold, huh? So I said that why not I write something? Maybe people like it. So just trying to see, just going through an experiment at the moment.
Yeah, absolutely. And you've also got another book called The Cure for Stars. What's that book about? Because I didn't think stars needed a cure.
So basically, it's a trilogy. So the first book is Sphere of Destiny. Second is Cure for Stars. And third is Revenge of Hathor. So the story is actually the story arc is actually moving in all three books. So if you read book one, you will not understand the complete story unless you read book 2 and 3 as well. So the story arc is quite big. So basically, the hero, when he saw that the aliens were suffering from a disease, he offered a cure. And the aliens realized that they cannot go to Earth because of a fear that they will contract the disease. They agreed that, okay, the human can go and bring the cure back. So they created a wormhole and sent the human back to bring the cure. But actually, another alien jumped into it, or maybe sucked into the wormhole, and he's following the human, stopping him. So this is basically the cure for a star, search for cure for the stars. And the third book is actually when they come back to the alien planet, and then they have their struggle there in the alien planet.
Yeah. And is the third book out yet then?
No, third book I'm still writing, and it's a bit complex actually.
Ooh. Yeah. And complex books can be good though, right?
Yeah, you have to say. I have to say I can't say much at the moment.
Okay, yeah. And what kind of language do you think aliens speak? Is it the kind of weird thing that you always see in movies that's like really hard to translate?
Oh, actually, I constructed the whole story on the Egyptian culture or the Egyptology and ancient Egyptian, huh?
Hmm.
So in my book, the aliens are basically speaking the ancient Egyptian language. So I showed that the both Egyptian hieroglyphs
Hmm.
and ancient and the alien Lyrian language actually, they are connected. So it's so the ancient Egyptian is kind of an archaic form
Yeah.
of the Lyrian language because Lyrians were more advanced compared to the humans.
Hmm.
So for them, it's kind of an archaic language which was spoken at the earth, but they can understand and translate.
Yeah, definitely. And what do you find so interesting about aliens and things like that?
Well, when I was writing, had a feeling like I can construct any kind of a world, huh? I
Yeah.
can think about anything and just make it use my imagination and construct anything. So it wasn't like a feeling of creation.
Yeah.
I have a feeling like I'm creating something,
Hmm.
uh, but uh, but it depends on your imagination. If you're a reader who has a good imagination and
Yeah.
you read those passages, you may like it.
Yeah.
My language is not very, what I say, very literary or very good. Actually, it's very simple language.
Hmm.
It's so anyone can read it and understand it, but you need a strong imagination to appreciate the book.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you think that in our lifetimes, maybe, that we will discover life on other planets and in other solar systems?
Mm, well, it's a complex question.
Yeah.
It has many aspects. Actually, life in the nearest planetary planets, or in the you say the solar system, based
Yeah.
on the solar, I mean the planets near the sun. I
Hmm.
don't think there's any life here
Yeah.
except in Earth. So you have to go further away. But I mean, how do we reach there? That's the
Uh-huh.
thing. So there can be life, of course. I think that there is a quite possibility that there's a life in other planets.
Yeah.
But the thing is, how do you reach?
Yeah.
Too far. I don't think it's within the 10 light years or something. It should
Hmm.
be further away. I mean, it's just a guess. I mean, it's my
Yeah.
assumption.
Yeah. And how sophisticated do you think these lives will be? Are we talking microbes or human like powerful people?
Yes, I think if you call something life, which is like an intelligent life, which can
Hmm.
communicate, I think that's a possibility
Yeah.
that such a life is there.
Yeah. And how's the third book coming along then? Do you know roughly when it will be out?
Third book is still in the writing, and
Uh,
I had many outlines. Then I changed it. I wrote the full chapters. Then I changed them. So I am still not sure, but actually I targeted that it should be released somewhere in February.
yeah.
And so my project is actually spanning over now a year and a half. Basically, I
Wow.
started last year in September,
Hmm.
and I was thinking the plan was to write all three books and
Yeah.
made them available with a gap of a month. So I already released book one and two. And the third one is actually taking some time. So I was still fixing the storyline, and because that book is the end of the whole trilogy, and it has some other dimensions because
Hmm.
Alien World has its own has its own atmosphere, its own religion and
Yeah.
value system. So I have
Hmm.
to see all of that. Basically, if you look into the movies, which we normally see in the sci-fi, they only talk about that the human jump from one
Hmm.
wormhole into another wormhole
Hmm.
without any psychological stress.
Yeah.
And as soon as they entered into another world, they started speaking together, they started communicating. So, but in reality, it's quite stressful if you think about it,
Yeah.
that a person is living the whole world, going to another world, and then he's trying to adjust with a new culture, new language, and he lost everyone, huh?
Yeah.
So it's time travel is not like a it's not a fun game.
No.
It's a stressful journey, and I actually from one of my book, from all my three books have their own music,
Yeah.
and which is on the YouTube.
Ooh.
And one of the music I actually named it "The Misery of a Space Traveler."
Yeah. Well, where are we able to check out all your books if we'd like to read them?
They are available at the moment on Amazon
Yeah.
in the paperback and the hard book. Actually, these two books are available: Sphere of Destiny and The Cure for Stars.
Yeah.
And actually, I will release very soon the audio book for the Sphere of Destiny, so that should be available.
Great. Well, thanks very much for joining us here on the show this afternoon.
Thank you for having me, and hope everyone liked my books.